Hi there, and welcome to a new episode of Impact Talks. Today we have Rogier Bouman with us. He's an entrepreneur who's built two businesses and sold both of them. He's now into coaching. I'm really excited to have him on. Please introduce yourself to the people. Tell them what you're currently doing.
Well, great. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Indeed, my name is Rogier Bouman, and I'm actually building a house at the moment in Portugal. One of my main aspects that I've been working on over the last 2 years, and that is actually quite challenging. But yes, I sold my businesses. Actually, made a little sidestep to work as a CTO and a CMO in a behavioral change company. And after that, I moved with my family to Portugal, where we bought a piece of land and actually tried to build a self-sustainable house. That is still in progress, but meanwhile I couldn't sit still, and I do what I love to do, and that is actually coaching. Yeah, so that's correct. It's all correct what you're saying.
Can I ask why Portugal from all places? Because you're Dutch, obviously.
Yeah, no, I'm Dutch for sure. We were actually looking for some adventure, and we have two kids. So one is 6 and one is 3. And back at the time, it was only 1 and 3 years old. And we thought, well, if we want to stay friends with our family and our friends, we don't take away the grandchildren from the grandma and grandmother, of the grandpa and the grandmother. So we were looking at the map, and New Zealand or Australia was not an option. It would take too much time to just travel back and forth. And what we did last week is we booked a last-minute flight to the Netherlands, and here we are. Like 3 hours later, you're back in the Netherlands.
Do you still have a place in the Netherlands or only in Portugal?
No. We sold everything and we moved to Portugal. Yeah, no strings attached.
Isn't that hard from an emotional perspective? I remember when I left Belgium, there was like an emotional aspect to it.
No. Let's say that it's good that we always can go back. You know, what we now did is we rented a house for 2 weeks, and it feels like home. Like it's still raining. It's still like the weather's not too good today, and it's completely different what we're used to in Portugal. But due to Corona, it's got a little bit too hot under our feet over there, and the children had to stay home as well. So what we're doing now is we stay in quarantine for 5 days in the Netherlands, and then hopefully we can see the grandmother and the grandfather as well, and they can spend some time together as well. So that was the whole idea to now move back to the...
I wanted to ask, so obviously we know each other for a couple of months. Actually, we met each other a couple of years ago on a conference. But how long ago was that business that you sold?
How long? Depends. So, way back, let's say in 2009, I moved to Germany to work for a corporate. It was Deutsche Telekom back then. And I was working in the international marketing area. And I had a brother-in-law, and he contacted me and he asked me, I want to start a new business. Can I ask you for some advice, because it's both marketing and the technology part, and I both really don't understand what's going on there. And I said, well, what kind of business are you thinking about? And he said, your cruise businesses. And I said, well, I don't know anything about it, and I have no idea, but you know what, I will look into it. And after 2 weeks, I was supposed to go back to the Netherlands for a brief visit, and I said, well, let's have a dinner, and we will see whether we can take it from there, or I give you some advice or whatever. And I was actually looking into one of the ING Bank. They publish every once in a while on a different branch or a different area. And this time it was indeed it was an online travel agency for cruises. So actually it was coincidence that at the same time I was looking into this area, and the penetration rate for the Netherlands was really low. It was like below 1% of the population was actually doing cruises. So it was expected to increase as a penetration rate, and you could see it also in the countries around us, and especially the US, of course, but also in the UK you saw higher penetration rates. In Germany you already saw higher penetration rates. So for me, I thought well, if this is the future of travel for a lot of people, or at least it will double in numbers.
Wait, you mean with cruises? You mean the big ships? Cruises,
the big ships,
right?
that go over the Mediterranean or into the Caribbean or yeah. So I was the same like you. I was like, cruises? What are you talking about? But the thing is that it was more or less invented by the Americans, and they always work a lot and have only short holidays. And for them, it was really important to do as much as possible in this 1 or 2 weeks off that they had. And then they wanted to go to, for instance, to the Caribbean or to Europe. And then what they could do is they could say in one trip, they could say, I went to Rome, I went to Venice, I went to Barcelona, and I went to Malta. So for them, it was like everything in 1 week. And that is so. But I had the same reaction when I went into this business, like you. Like, I didn't know anything about it. But then from a business perspective, I thought, well, it might be interesting to look a little bit further into it. And with these numbers of the ING and with a good chat with my brother-in-law back then. And I told him, like, well, I would do it like this, and I would get into this technology. And but what would you say if I just quit my job and we will do it together? And so that being said, and he had I will not talk too much about him. He's not my brother-in-law anymore, by the way, so that makes sense. And but then he had a retail travel shop, let's say, put it like that. And he didn't do anything online as well, so he had no experience online. And so when we started this new business, we made it a separate entity, but also regarding his online activities, I told him, like, hey, you have no exposure at all online, and I can tell you, it was 2010, there's gonna be the future of travel. So if you're not joining this boat, like, you can step into the other boat, like this cruise business, but you're gonna miss a lot of business there as well. And so we set up the whole online part for him as well, or actually, that's what I did. And after 1 year, we did 10 million euro revenue. So that was a big
after 1 year.
Yeah, it was a big game changer for him as well. And from there, we took it away. And that was also the fundament of the second startup that we started, because he was involved in that as well. And it was really the comparison between if you book your holidays with, for instance, TUI or back then Thomas Cook or whatever, maybe Sunweb, and that you could not easily compare what this same holiday would cost you if you would buy all the components separately. So for instance, from a flight and a hotel and maybe a rental car. So if you combine these three elements, we took the technology and brought everything together, and on one overview you could see what it would cost you on a tour operator perspective, and on the other hand you could see what it cost you if you would book all the elements separately. And then we combined it with some smart business rules, so you would level it up, and 60% of the cases we saw that it was cheaper to buy it in the other way than it would be in the and that was the foundation of Beach Check. That was the idea, and that is now part of TUI actually.
Okay, so two questions pop up for me. First, the kind of obvious question: how was it like doing business with family? Because I just keep hearing nightmares around that. But also, actually, on episode 2, we had the head of ASICS on for innovation, and he started a family business as well with his dad, I think it was. But how was it for you starting a business with a brother-in-law, which is at the time family, of course?
Yeah. Well, actually, when I gave up my well-paid job in Germany, the first reaction of most people is like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Like, are you sure you want to give a six-figure job up for to be an entrepreneur?" But nevertheless, like, no, it felt comfortable, and back then we had a good relation, and it was not too familiar. It was like, he's my brother-in-law, he was married with my sister, and we knew each other for quite a while, over 15 years back then. And so we were not too close, but close enough to trust each other. And on the other hand, it was for me enough foundation to start something. And the good thing is that when the numbers are good, is easy, but it's with everything. You know, like when everything goes smooth and well, there is no hassle. But as soon as there's hiccups or tension, or then it might become a different ball game, and that makes it a little bit more difficult than maybe a regular one, like someone you don't know, a founder or maybe a friend. Or
How old were you when you started that? When he came to you and asked you those questions?
oh well, 30. I'm now 40 years old. Yeah.
So that was literally a decade ago. So he comes to you and he says, "Let's do this." I mean,
No. It was my initiative. Sorry, no. Maybe I
yes,
didn't.
no, you said that.
He came to me to ask for advice because for marketing and for the technology part. And it was me that we were talking over dinner, and I gave him the information he asked for. But meanwhile, I checked the statistics, and I saw like, oh, that might be an interesting business case as well. So that's why I said, like, actually, maybe it's time to come back to the Netherlands, and why not start it together, and as partners, not as an employee or anything. So yeah.
Why is the question? What is a lot of listeners? I sometimes we get messages, but a lot of listeners are going through that phase. They're working in a corporate. They have a comfortable job. First of all, the question that pops up is, when are you ready to make that step? What was going through your mind, and why did you take that step at 30 years old, when technically you still have an entire career in front of you?
Well, one is, of course, I still had my place in the Netherlands, and I was lucky that the corporate would pay my accommodation in Germany. So that was all pretty good and well managed. So credits for them. But my wife or back then my girlfriend was still in the Netherlands, and so the idea was, she's a talented journalist, by the way, and well, her career is just as important as mine, so we didn't make any compromises on that field. And so for her it was or to come to Germany and work for a German newspaper, and although she had VWO German, she will never be able to work for a German newspaper, so that was not an option. So nevertheless, like it was like, or she would come to Germany and would find another job and maybe something completely different, or I would come back to the Netherlands and start something new, or maybe find another job. So Germany was a great experience. I was there for over 1.5 years. I did the leadership course, and I did visited all the countries. We talked about the marketing, about the strategy, about new propositions. Was all very nice, but yeah, what's next? That's the question. And when you're 30, it's like, okay, I'm gonna wait and maybe wait one day to get promoted, or I feel comfortable enough, or maybe have enough confidence to just say thank you, this was it, and it's time for a new chapter. So for me, it was like twofold. On one hand, privately, that I didn't want my girlfriend to come to Germany and give up her career, and on the other hand, I felt comfortable and confident enough to just quit the job and move back to the Netherlands and then start from there again.
Why not get a job in the Netherlands while starting this business? Why straight business? Were you that confident it would make that much money? And if so, what made you that confident?
No, well, what is the worst case scenario? So the worst case scenario is that I fail with the business, and I would go back to corporate anyways. So that would be the scenario. So, like for me, it didn't feel like if you move out corporate, you can never go back. No, for me, it wasn't like that. On the other hand, I felt that I had corporate entrepreneurial aspirations all the time. So when I was in university, I started my first website company. I couldn't make a website at all, but then I taught myself how to program in HTML and CSS, and from there, before we knew it, we were making websites for a corporate bank with database-driven applications behind it. So I found it back then very important to finish my education first, and I never went completely full on for the entrepreneurial part, but it was already there, and yeah.
But so if you were making already at the time in the university, I'm assuming if you're working for a bank, quite some money selling websites, why not graduate and actually go like start a web design business or something? Why go corporate?
No, well, the web design, I felt never comfortable enough to really push that forward. It was more like, I believe it was 1999, and it was over a Christmas dinner, and we didn't talk too much about business, but somebody told me like, hey, this internet, what's going on there? And everybody was looking at me like I was yeah, I'm not sure if I was a millennial, but like everybody, tell me about the internet. And I was already active on the internet, like since 1994, 95. I once worked at a supermarket all summer to acquire a 14.4K modem. Like it was, that was my yeah. So I was more active on the internet than most other people back then. And yeah, so on this Christmas dinner, like this internet, what is going on there? And yeah, that's why we started talking about a website. And I briefly told them about the opportunity that was in front of them. And I actually sold my first website over a Christmas dinner. I'm not proud of it, but then they told me like, can you make me a website? I said, I guess so. I don't know. Maybe let me give it a try. And yeah, so I told myself, together with a friend, by the way. We managed to make it, and was actually a happy customer in the end. And from there.
Can I ask how much they paid you for that website?
Oh my God, no. I don't know. I know we could buy a digital camera. So we bought one of the first investments we did was a digital camera, because we could make digital photos and we could publish them on the website. And I remember still that it was a Kodak, so Kodak was still existing, and it was a 0.9 megapixel. So and we could buy a laptop from it. So I think it's somewhere in the thousands. I don't know. It was a
pretty good for a Christmas dinner, but that's actually nice to start off as. So you were in your 20s then, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so then, well, what did you study again?
Business engineering and sociology.
Do you think it helped you down the path of being an entrepreneur and doing what you do, or not?
I would say they will not teach you to be an entrepreneur in school. No, I don't.
Did you take anything from your university that you applied into your business?
Well, maybe it's I have a broad interest, so that's why I'm like from engineering and sociology, like two different areas. So I find everything interesting, and I want to figure out everything, and so maybe that is my nature. But yeah, maybe some finances and maybe some models and valuation models that you come across. But no, I would not say that was too important. It's more general knowledge that you acquire and a way of thinking, and that maybe critical thinking, and that you will use that during your career. But I will not say that it's the fundament of being an entrepreneur. But it can help. It's not excluding.
So okay, so let's skip ahead, because that's the question I wanted to ask. So you start this business together, and your first year you make 10 million revenue, you said. We had on the last podcast, a buddy of mine actually came on. He's from Atlanta, and he tells a similar story, how he started a business with his, I think it was also like some family member. Similar story in logistics, first year 40 million revenue. So this sounds very similar to me, but I'm always fascinated. That's like hyper growth. How can you tell us more the story of that first year? How did it get that way? What did you do? How did you handle such an influx of revenue suddenly coming your way? Could you tell us more?
Well, this revenue was coming from an online travel agency, and there was already, as I said, like a retail travel agent, and he was doing that with his. It was actually his family business. His father once started that, and he took over the business a few years before we started something together. And so he was not active at all on the internet, and we talked about it once briefly, before, and I told him about some opportunities online for him, but not me being part of that. And so when we started the new business, I told him like, it's really an opportunity to do something for you. And while we are building the other company, it's quite easy for me to start something for you online and make sure that you actually can start within a few weeks, because some of the technology was already there, and it was only necessary to integrate it. And I don't know if you like to hear it, or this is maybe too detailed, but I remember.
No, I want the details.
What I did is I developed a lifetime value model, and I actually used it already at T-Mobile in the Netherlands when I was in my first job after university. Actually, I traveled in between. So your question, why did you continue your business? Because I wanted to travel after graduating, and that's what I did actually. So I traveled a little bit, and then after that, I joined T-Mobile in the corporate area in the Netherlands. And well, one of my first jobs there was also in channel management. So what we did was like trying to invest and see how much we could get back from the investment. And yeah, we use there also a lifetime value model. Like we know how much we invest and see maybe.
What is a lifetime value model?
So what you do is actually you look at the prospect or the client or the customer, and you predict, or you try to predict how long this lifetime of this customer will last. So when you have your acquisition cost, and that was the whole idea, what I tried to explain to my partner as well, you have the acquisition cost, and it might be that at the beginning it will be not too profitable at all, because you have to pay for your acquisition costs, you have to pay, so let's say that can be the marketing, it can be whatever costs that you put in the customer to acquire it. But once it is your customer, it's much easier to retain it. So if you have the customer on board, and my model was then every week or every 2 weeks, we send them a nice email with some information about their next possible holiday. And at the beginning it was really flat, like it was like we sent everyone the same email. But then later on we tried to personalize it more and more. So if somebody went to hotel whatever, and in Spain, we tried to match who else would like to have this this accommodation. So we gave them suggestions. So it's actually how all the algorithms work. Like, so with this lifetime value model, I try to explain, like, all right, you might have to pay your the publisher. So we are the advertisement, you have an affiliate model where you pay the publisher, but then once they're in, it's your client. It's not their client, it's your client. So you only gain the traffic and you pay for the traffic, whether it comes from Google, it comes from an affiliate, or wherever you're gonna find your traffic from. In the end, it will bring you the customer. And if you're willing to pay at the beginning, because most entrepreneurs would say, from a business perspective, well, if I acquire this customer and it doesn't bring me too much, why would I do it? Because it's like a zero-sum game. It will not bring me anything. But then with the customer lifetime value, you will look further than the first acquisition. So you would say, if we make this client not per se an ambassador, but let's say someone that is willing to buy again from you, because during the year you send them a little welcome card back when they come back from their holiday. You maybe give them halfway a little phone call and ask them, hey, how are you doing? Any plans for the new year? Or you send them an email every 2 weeks with a little note like, hey, this is going on, look at whatever we have to tell them, as long as it's relevant for them, of course. Then the likelihood that they will buy again from you it's higher than when they don't hear from you again. You know, like, especially when you're not a brand, because we didn't start as a brand. It was just like a smart marketing move that we invented. And yeah, so with this lifetime value model, you just look further than the first year, and maybe in between people even have a city trip or whatever, and they know where to find you as well. So that was the whole idea with this online marketing activities, or online travel activities for the it's actually a transformation from a retail organization into a more online travel agency.
So you create the websites in a couple of weeks, you say? how good is that website that it can manage? Like, did you build it further out, or was that initial website the reason why you guys grew so hard?
Well, my vision on this was like, if we make a website, we don't have to make it too fancy, actually, because if we make it too fancy, maybe people would say, oh, a lot of money went into this website. And it can be good, but what we try to do is we try to give a discount on the holiday. And that was we try to present like reliable but cheap, you know, like it's a combination of, you come on the website, everything is working, everything is fine, but it doesn't need to be too fancy. We didn't spend on photo shoots with models, or we didn't try to inspire them on where to go on their next holiday. No, what we did is, you know where you want to go for your holidays, and we just make sure that if you come on the website, you can find it within 1 or 2 clicks. This is the hotel you want, or actually you come on the landing page that with the website, or the landing page is actually the hotel that you want to book. We're not gonna distract anything. We're not gonna ask you with pop-ups or whatever, like, do you know about this or do you know that? No, the only thing that what we're focused on was this sell button. Like, I want to have this accommodation, and you click on it and you see that what we promised, it is there. Like, we give you a discount and you can see on your display that this is the same accommodation that you would buy anywhere else, but only with a discount.
Whoa, so it's pretty much like an MVP, but just it works really well, and the flow, the sales funnel was
back then I never heard of an MVP, but if you would tell me today, I would tell you, yeah, it was an MVP, and from there we took it from there, and we made the second year 15 million, so that worked out well.
I still want to explore the first. So the first one, just for me to understand, your partner had this retail travel thing, and so most of the sales were coming from his contacts there, or how did it work?
None. It was not cannibalizing at all on his current business.
So okay, then I must have missed the step. So okay, you start the website, and then you do what you said, affiliates and Google ads, or how did you get to the 10 million?
Yeah, exactly what you said. we had advertised, but so the first year we didn't have any Google positions. For the second year we had, and the trick there was you have the accommodation name from the name of the hotel, and if you would put the keyword discount and korting in het Nederlands, in Dutch, we would come on the first position.
How did you achieve that? Were you writing just a ton of blogs around it, or
no,
how?
No, I made it's very detailed. No, what I did, I made a very simple database, and it is a long time ago. I don't think it will work.
Probably not.
No,
they update their algorithms every year.
So I'm quite sure it will not work. But back then it worked, and what we did is actually on the country level, on the region level, we had a few interns that wrote some information about the country and the region, yeah. And we manipulated existing text on the accommodation, and we added keywords, and we mixed some stuff. But that was all automated. So we used the interns for the more general text. And then we used existing without intellectual property, of course, being harmed. But
so pretty much SEO was the reason you guys grew so hard.
No, that was only part. That was the second year, because the first year we didn't have any position at all. It was contributing at the growth in the second year.
Okay, so then the first year it was all advertising?
Affiliate.
How did you do affiliate?
Well. There are websites that would publish different tour operatives, and our advertisement link was. So there you have the list of all the advertisers, and there was one advertisement link in now with discount. So people were just curious, what is this? Why are you have all the major publisher of the major advertisers, and why is it this link with now with discount? So when they click on it, we gave them what we promised, and yeah, so.
Smart. Okay, and so, okay, quick question for me to understand. How did you get discounts? Like, can't a Booking.com, which was existing at the time as well, can't they get the same discounts?
Well, Booking.com back then was not really a player. That was coming later for the real solo accommodation sell. So back then it was really more tour operating business, maybe some other OTAs as well.
But how come you guys got the discounts and the others didn't?
Yeah, that's a very a good question actually. So let's say there was a level playing field, but that is maybe the risk that my partner took, is that he was willing to take the risk to give away the 5%, although there was informal level playing field. Because it's not formal, it was more like an informal level playing field.
Okay, so you pretty much, what I heard Amazon used to do when they would enter a new industry, they would just cut whatever margin they had just to gain enough branding and clients. And then once they had the client base, they would like...
If that is the case, I don't know. If you tell me, it could be. Yeah, so the idea is at the acquisition, you're willing to take a big part of the acquisition cost, and then the next year you're going to make some real money.
That is interesting. So, okay, so then it was very much like almost manual work that first year with this whole affiliate thing and SEO.
No, that was also that was also all automated. The only thing that when we saw that, so let's say in January it's where you sell most of the package holidays, and we started in December, and in January we started to make some real figures. So then we said, okay, this is gonna be sustainable. It's not a one day fly. So that's when we acquired interns to be ready for the next year in January. So everything was prepared for the next season, but we already saw that it was continuously generating revenue over the year. But of course, you have some peaks, some seasonality where people buy their holidays. And yeah, throughout the year we maintained, and the next year, of course, there was the challenge to grow. And yeah, well, it was 150%.
Why interns and why not employees at that point?
Yeah, because I guess they're much cheaper and more flexible, and they can learn something as well. And
but considering the revenue, don't you want something that they're like an expert or something, or was it easy to maintain the automated system that you created?
Well, back then it was quite straightforward. No, it was not. It wasn't complicated. No.
But so you're telling me that first year it was just you and your partner, and that's it?
No, he had his organization, right? So they would do the back office and the operational part, and but we tried to automate as much as possible from day one. So there would be as little as manual work as possible. But of course, there was a real customer support, and credits for him. He already had a good pipeline of the workflow.
But so your partner pretty much brought the infrastructure, and then you both created the web front end that just blew a ton of sales then.
Yeah, the front end, and then maybe some nice tactics for the marketing part. So.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Okay, so then you go through. How long did you run that business, and when did you sell it? When did you even decide to sell it?
Well, first of all, this was still his business, right? So that's what I tried to, like, we started separately. We started the cruise business. This was a business, and we made a agreement together, like how we would deal with all the transactions. So that was still his business, and we started the cruise business at the same time, and that I had for 4 years, and after 4 years, it was time to go on, and that's why I also started this new startup. and that was beach check. So I used part of the money that I had from the previous from the sale into the new business, and I thought if I do this again, then.
So wait, let's go back for a second. So 4 years. Did somebody approach you to buy it from you, or you decided to sell it? What was the process like?
Well, from the beginning, for me it was like, if I would do this, I don't have any affiliation with the product. You know, like if I can see that, if I can demonstrate that we can build something and we can, it's more like from a business perspective, not the product perspective. And for me, it was like after 4 years, it was okay, and I was able to sell it. So then, for me, I already had the idea of the other product or for beach check, and for me, it was also an opportunity to move on and to start something new again.
So you wanted to sell it.
For me, it was already from day one. I thought, like, I'm not gonna be in this industry forever, and.
So how do you go about selling it? Do you find a business broker? Like, how does that work?
No, that was all internally managed. Like.
What do you mean internally managed? Like a lawyer did it, or how?
No, we that is like we managed it ourselves. So there was no internally. We didn't need anyone to do that.
Clear. Okay, so then you take the shares that you sold and you take that money into the second business.
That's correct. Yeah. No, not everything, but part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the money that you have, you take. What is the second business? Why this one? Why not? Like, I mean, you just went.
I went into the travel business. I came from telecom. It's a completely different area. But then, of course, the idea was there that. You have all the tour operators, and we could see back then that there was also a tendency more towards booking your own holidays, right? So it's just still the same accommodation, but then with a separate flight, and there were a lot of new low-cost flights coming in, and even the tour operators might sell their stock as well for air. And besides that, you could add a car or a rental car or a transfer from the airport. So it was all these APIs were coming up. It's like the application protocol interface for the different elements that you need to build a package. And then once what we did is actually, because of it's at different moments in time, we took the time to investigate it as well, to see whether it would be more beneficial for a client or a customer to book it in as elements, or they would book it as a tour with a tour operator. And the interesting thing is that, of course, if the tour operator bought it. The buyers would have done a good job. Of course, at 40% they were cheaper, but in 60% it was a significant benefit for the client or the customer to book it separately, so not to include it in the package. And with this knowledge, the new idea was formed, and that's why we said, like, okay, let's see if we can get all the technology, if we can bring this together, and if we can make a business model for that as well.
But so you're the one that built all of this, then you connected all of these elements, or did you have like coders in place?
For the new one, we had partners who would take care of the technology. Of course, we tell them what we would like to see. Some of the elements are already there, and some of the elements you have to build custom, or you have to customize them to make them operational for you.
Okay, so you start that business. It's you again with your brother-in-law, right?
Yeah, and another entrepreneur.
How come you decided to get this third person in at that point?
We as I told you, like, we did this 60% of good cases where we would win from a tour operator in this. although we would sell the tour operator as well. So it's actually best of both worlds, because the model would go either way. To the tour operator, you will make your commission, or you would take the margin from the package that you created yourself. And actually, we were both looking at we had a big screen in our office, like a big LED screen, and the one who made us the Excel with all the different numbers, and to see what it would cost with the tour operator, or if we would do it ourselves. And we made a model for that to see whether it would be a green color if it would be significantly cheaper to do it yourself, and it would be red if it would be a win for the tour operator, and it would be white if the margin was too small to tell a winner. And so it was a lot of green on the screen as well. And at that moment, the other entrepreneur walked into the room, because we had a meeting later on with him, and he said, "What are you guys looking at?" So then we told him, "Well, this is the idea," and he said, "I'm in. I want to join." And
Okay, well, what kind of entrepreneur was he?
It's also in travel. Yeah.
But so, okay, why? I mean, you already did a business with your brother-in-law. Why involve this third person?
He wanted to invest as well, so additional investment, so that is good. Yeah, and why not?
I know, so that the margin is bigger for you guys. I don't know what can go through your thoughts. If it was your idea, maybe.
Yeah, well, actually, good question. I don't know. We could have done it with the two of us. I'm quite sure we could pull it together as well. Maybe because he was bringing in a fair share as well. So we thought we could go further together than maybe with the two of us, or maybe faster.
Okay, so then you all three start. It's now 2014 then, or when was this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good.
Nice. Okay, so 2014. Yeah. So you start.
Yeah, in this case it was like a very carte blanche. Nothing was there at the moment. The two guys, they had their own business, so the two partners. So I was actually the one who's driving the car, and so I had to build it from scratch. That was actually the case. So they gave me the key, and every month or whenever we were just sitting together for a brief meeting. And
but wait, the shares were equal, but you were the one who was doing everything?
I was operationally doing the business.
Isn't that a little bit unfair to you?
Well, in the end we split up, so something went wrong, and I think I made some mistakes on the road on this road as well. So maybe you're right.
But I mean, I'm asking now for at the time. What was going through your mind? Because obviously at Startup Funding Event, we sometimes get startups and everything. And every time I keep hearing from our judges, like, are you all in? Are you all full time? And if some of the partners aren't, then, I mean, co-founders aren't, that's like a little bit weird. At the time, what were you thinking? Were you like, oh, okay, I can just run this myself, but I'm giving like 33.3% to this guy and another 1/3 to this? Like, isn't that a little...
No, it didn't feel like that at all. For me, it was more like if I would have done it myself, I could have not done it at all, because you needed to have all the connections with the tour operators, and the tour operators were giving no new licenses to anyone. So if I would have done it myself, it would have been impossible. Quite as far, maybe there would be a way, but it wouldn't be a completely different way. Or I had to find someone else who already had all the connections, and maybe buy a little travel agency or something like that. So for me, it was like already set in stone for me that I would need someone as well with the right connections. And the two partners had all the connections, so that was like. That was an easy one for me.
So were they like silent shareholders almost, or were they also sometimes operationally active?
Well, the idea was that one of the partners would do the whole back office. So he would take care of questions that would come in. He would do the handling of the vouchers. He would do, let's say, all the back office. And the other one was a silent investor. I would not say it, not silent, because we had our meetings with the three of us, like a shareholder meeting, and not once a year, but let's say every month we would come together. And I think it was for them as well very insightful and maybe a fun exercise to just hear how the progress and all the technology that they were not fully acquainted with, but that they had more and more awareness of. But so I think it was for them fun as well. But let's say that maybe more like a commissaris, I don't know if that's the right word, but that was more the attitude as well. And then it was we fully co-founder. On the other hand, the operational part, that was already, I would say, in quite a good excellence. So I didn't have to worry about that too much. But of course, I had to build a new team. And the team would be more like from the sales, the online sales, but also the marketing, the content marketing, maybe a general manager. That was also what we all implemented later on. So it was really bootstrapping the company and to try to see where it would take us.
So actually the way it sounds like is the whole infrastructure again was there, a fulfillment. So you were very much building a company that is just fully focused on scale and selling and just marketing.
Yeah, and this time it would be really building a brand as well. So the first company wasn't a brand at all. It was just an interesting trick, and that would help us to acquire a lot of customers. And then later on, we try to manage that with some attribution, and we try to tweak it everything and to make it a profitable case. And that was actually the case. It was very profitable, but not from day one. And this was really like something completely different. It was really try to build a brand, to really get the attention of the customer, to really go even on more above the line on television, and we made a commercial for the radio also to see how that would attract traffic as well, and that was all what they already did in the after 1 year we had the MVP, and then we started to see how we could get all the traffic to our website.
Okay, so two questions there. What were the biggest realizations in that first year from a marketing perspective? Which platforms worked the best? Was that radio ad, for instance, like how did that perform? And which one did not work the best?
Well, we made I would not say, it was actually a mistake, and it was also a quite costly mistake, I would say. What we did is we made there was the affiliate partner as well that had a lot of traffic in Germany, but also in the Netherlands. And they wanted to actually, we had a good conversation with them, and we managed to get a very good deal with them. And for us, it was just numbers. If I talk about my own experience, for me it was only numbers. Like I saw the business case, it would work, but I didn't know anything about the product, and that is maybe my flaw. If I saw the name of an accommodation, it didn't tell me too much. But then I just asked the product manager, "Is this okay?" And if he would tell me, "This is a great product and we can sell it," for me it was all good. But in the back end, there was a mistake between. They tried to match all the accommodation, but there was a mismatch. And exactly this perfect first big affiliate partnership that we were about to launch, it was with a mismatch. And we had millions and millions and millions of records. And I can tell you honestly, like I would say that maybe 99.9% is matched correctly. And we managed to pick the only mistake in this whole database of millions and millions of records with a mismatch. So when people were getting the information, so they make the booking online, and that is good. So we saw like things already like all right. Even the owner of the technology company, he was sending me that night a message like, "Whoa, guys, you're hitting it again! Like, what's going on? It's like I see a lot of bookings coming in." And I said, "Yeah, it's very promising." But then the next day we saw that there was a mismatch, and there was a lot of shit to recover, because everybody thought they booked an accommodation, but in fact the machines, the computers, they made a mismatch and they booked something completely different. And then of course, if you have all the different elements, because they book a flight as well, and that was very costly, and that was a big mistake we made. So
How did you fix that? How, like, that sounds like such a startup story. Can you tell me
no, for
more?
sure. Like, no, we everybody got their money back, so that's for sure. Like, of course, we will take the pill, and we wanted to be honest about it. I think if you Google on Trustpilot, you can still see people like. And back then, it was me also putting on my laptop and telling people, I'm really sorry, like we will fix this somehow. For sure you get your money back. And yeah, it was like answering the emails myself. And
Where do you find that money? Because this is at the beginning, obviously.
yeah. No, so that's a liability. So who's liable for making the mismatch? And well, the technology partner took the responsibility. So we're really happy with
it. So you
it.
got your money. Okay, did you need to go like pursue it legally, or
No,
or
that
were
was
they just
all.
owning up to
No,
Okay.
it was just one phone call and one office visit, and it was taken care of. So no, that was well done, well done.
Can I ask for the numbers? Like in the first year, like, do you want to share like how crazy it went revenue wise?
No, because it wasn't the greatest numbers at all. I would say that it would not even hit 1 million the first year.
But I mean, but it was above 500,000 then, or
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
that's still really good. A lot of startups don't get there.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. This one holiday is 1,500 euros, so the numbers are different than the price per unit is much higher than when you buy whatever online. You know, like it's one of the highest in the online world. So the numbers will have to be high. It's a different ballgame.
So maybe a more practical question, but when you start a business like that, where you're very dependent on different elements like a flight operator or something like that, do you also get insurance, or do you not even care about that and you go straight for investing everything
that was taken
in
care
ads?
of from day one, and that is also why you have the infrastructure from your partners. Yeah, no, that was a necessity, and it also asked for some warranties from the bank. Not per se that the bank will give you the warranty, but you have to stall some money that will be reserved for in case something happens, and the clients can get their money back. Now that is all well taken care of in the Netherlands. It's Stichting Garantie Reisgelden.
Okay, clear. Okay, so then you start, and how long were you in that business? I think also 3-4 years?
No, after 1.5 years, everything went into a different direction.
Do you mind sharing what happened and how you got out of it?
Let's say that we have a different perspective on how to continue with the business, with the shareholders. And as I said, like if everything is going pretty well, there's no, you will find each other. But when it's more difficult, yeah, I would not say the real personalities, but let's say that, maybe the real personalities of everyone, including me, would come to play. And that's why I said like, it's nice like this, and we all go our own way.
And what are your biggest lessons then, if you look at both businesses and especially that last one, that if you would be going back, saying it to a young entrepreneur, what are the biggest lessons you drew out of that entire story then?
Oh, well, maybe my fault is that, that I'm not selfish enough in these cases. Like I try to build a business and I try to do it together, and maybe not everybody is on the same page in that one. So maybe where I try to bring everything together, and yeah, maybe that's a weakness. I don't know, but I'm not changing it. So that's why, I'm not changing it. I try, if I do something together with someone else, we do it together. And we try to make the best of it for all of us. And it's not for me like if it starts to become difficult that that it's only me and I would surpass you or
So
whatever.
it sounds to me like the learning lesson then is make sure to find someone that you're 100% sure with, that you have the same mission and goals and core values then.
Yeah, maybe the core values. That was the most important thing. If you share the core values, you're more sustainable for when a storm hits or when you have some arguments. Like arguments are good, you know. Like it's not that I'm saying like you shouldn't have any arguments. I think it's really good to have let's say good fights, makes it polish. And but if it takes too much energy from you as an entrepreneur, you rather. Or for me, it was like, do I want to put my energy in this? Do I want to put my energy in the startup? Is it still worth to invest in it, or is it for me like, okay, I know enough. It's for me. It's okay. We can go our separate ways, and yeah, I can go my own way. I don't need anyone like to tell me what I need to do in this case. Like yeah, for me it was clear. Like close the book and continue.
So again, you sold your shares internally.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so you sell your shares, and this is where for me gets fascinating. We've had a lot of guests, of course, that talk about their journey and everything. I'm very interested in, you went through two businesses that went pretty, good. You've experienced hyper growth as well. You sold your shares now. What happens next? Like, what is going through your mind? Do you still want to be an entrepreneur after all of that stuff blowing up? What is going through your mind, and what were your next steps?
Well, for me, it was like when I start a business, or when I do it for the long run. That is the idea why I started. It's not that I start something with the idea I do this for 1.5 years and then I just whatever, no. The idea is I do this, and I would always look at maybe a time span of 3, 4, 5 years to when I start something new, maybe even longer. But of course, the world can look differently every year. So I would also put it in retrospect every year and to see whether that is still valid for me. If it matches my core values, if there's enough purpose for me in there, and yeah, well, then of course, if you decide to go your own way, yeah, for me it was like, okay, what's next? And well, then interim management would be the most likely case, or I start something completely new. But to be honest, to start something completely new from scratch and without having a plan, for me that wasn't really an option. And then I was doing some interim jobs, and somebody else approached me and said, hey, we're looking for a CTO at our company. Is it something for you? Well, I said, no, that's not for me. I'm not really looking for a job. And then they said, well, if we make it a little bit broader, we make it a CTMO, like also the marketing perspective, and then maybe we can start internally a new startup, like something new. Would it be possible? Would it be something for you? And then, yeah, I'm also open for that. It was not that I would say, well, no, I want to start something new, and it was a good proposal, and I had a good vibe with the people. I really felt that we had a common core value with the company that I'm talking about, and so it was for me also fine to start in a corporate or in a company again. It was not a big deal for me.
So a little bit before that role, what kind of interim jobs are you doing after having been an entrepreneur?
It was in the field of marketing and strategy and technology. And for instance, one of the buying groups, as a buying group, one of the buying groups in travel, they asked me to help them to write down the requirements for more or less the same platform that we developed with BeachCheck. So it was more like, can you help us to get all the members of the buying group on par? and maybe you can help us out at the early stage together with the director, the managing director of the group, so that we don't miss anything, and we have everything on par for the whole group, and we can take it from there.
Clear. Okay, and then you get that job. Can you? Is it public? Like, which corporate were you working then for that CTMO job?
Yeah, it's in Ranch. It's part of in Samhout. It's a strategy consulting club from Utrecht. But this is in Ranch. It's in Rotterdam, and they make behavioral change, or actually positive behavioral change with games.
Okay, cool. So then they ask you to do that. It's like its own startup. How long did you do that, and what was the experience like going from a startup entrepreneur into a corporate, but then kind of startup? I mean,
No, it's not per se a corporate. It's like a established 25-year-old company that.
I mean, that's not a startup. Let's be honest here. It's not a. It's
no,
not
it's
like
not a startup. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what they try to do is to start something new, and they within a startup vibe, maybe a lean startup within the company. And when they approached me, it was really the basic was a CTO. That was what we were talking about. And my first reaction was, I will look into my network to see if I know someone. But then the message was, we were thinking about you. What do you think? And from there, I said, well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not really. So my first reaction was, I'm not really looking for a job. But then we continued to chat, and it was more like an open chat also with the founders, and to see whether there is a match. And as I said, like, I had a very good feeling with them. I think we share a lot of core values. And then they made it more attractive by putting the marketing in there and saying that, hey, maybe you can also take care of the startup part and within the company.
So what's that journey like? How long did you stick there, and why did you eventually decide to exit?
It was for over 1.5 years, I would say. And so yeah, I started this new journey, and it felt good with the right people. Maybe we had some challenges at the beginning, but there was also enough a challenge for me to change some focus areas, to work on the roadmap for all the technology that would come, and maybe gain some thought leadership on different elements within the marketing area. And then after 1.5 years, we had a very nice, interesting chat. First of all, I had it with my wife, and she, we said, well, maybe it's time to have one more great adventure before the children are mandatory to go to school, and maybe we would like to travel a little bit more. And I always had the idea to build a self-sustainable house, and I made a concept for that as well, where you would have one unit, and you could, with this unit, it's actually a sea container, and within this container you would have you could produce clean water, you would have electricity storage, and you could make from black water, you can make it gray water, and even drinkable water. So that was all in this unit, and with this unit you could provide four houses to be self-sustainable. Actually, you could put it anywhere in the world, and then with this idea you could put this container anywhere, and you could see 4 houses of 70 square meters. You could provide it from water and energy. So actually, I still had the idea, and my wife and I we said, okay, well, let's travel, and let's see if maybe we find a piece of land where we can create this, where we can really put this into practice. And the same time, at the job part, we had a nice conversation where they asked me to, maybe stay a little bit longer at the company in a more serious role. And for me, it was like, if I would do that, I would commit to it as well for more than 1 year, or maybe even 5 to 10 years. It's not that if you would do something like that, it's not like doing it, as I said, for a short term. And meanwhile, we had the aspiration or the ambition to go abroad again and to have some adventure. So I gratefully thanked for the opportunity, and we grabbed our stuff and we flew to South Africa for 1 month because one of my best friends was getting married there as well. And after that, we landed in Portugal, and we said we give it 3 months, and if we find a good piece of land where we can develop our dream, we're gonna stay a little bit longer, and then we see how it will take from there. And actually, within 6 weeks, we bought a very nice piece of land at the coast of Lisbon, and this is actually where we're now building this house, this self-sustainable house.
So it sounds to me like you're then on a gap year, like you had a gap year after your studies. Is that a little bit fair to say, if you look at your career journey? That you're now in this gap year, maybe in between.
Well, the gap is like, for me, it sounds always like the connotation like there is missing something. Like, you know, like if there's a gap, mind your step because there's a gap, otherwise you fall in it. And for me, it's not like I don't feel like it's a real gap. It's not that I say like, it's just something different, you know, like I don't believe in this linear, no, I do believe that there is a way to have a linear career, and it's very overseeable. Like, you know, there's a dot on the horizon and that's where you're going. And maybe for me, it's more like, whatever, you know, like a different kind of line. I'm not saying it's not linear. It's always going up for me. It's not that I have the idea that it's going down, but it's maybe not the most straight line as you or linear line as you can imagine. But for me, it's not a real gap. But for me, it was time to move on, to take the opportunity with small kids, to do something different, to be a little bit more free, and to travel a bit. And of course, we give it some time as well. Like that's why we said 3 months. If it was not going to work out, for me it was not. I want to waste my time on the beach in Portugal. No, it was for me. I want to buy a piece of land. If I can find it, I can continue with what I want to do. If I don't find it, it's not for me a necessity to have that. But I tried it, you know, like it's not that I'm sitting at my desk and dreaming about this piece of land that I want to buy and then maybe fantasize about it. No, for me it was like, if I want to have this piece of land, I need to go there. You know, I tried to several times to fly to Portugal and see if it was an interesting piece of land. But then I arrived there and there was always something miss, you know, like always something wrong. And it was a bias, it was a seller's market actually. So people, the prices of the land were going up as well. So for me, it was very clear that if I wanted to buy this very specific piece of land, because I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be close to an urban area, but I wanted to be remote. I wanted to be, if I would be there, that I had the idea that it would be remote, but I wanted to be on the ocean as well. So I had all this criteria, and it was very difficult for me to find something like that from online or from the Netherlands. So it was obvious for me, if we want to buy this piece of land, we have to be there. So on the same day it's published on the internet, I can be there, I can have a visit, I can say if I like it or not, if it meets my criteria, and we can continue. And that's also the reason why we found it in 6 weeks, because we were there. It was the day that it was published on the internet. We went to visit the next day, and we said we're gonna give it a try. But there was one big hurdle, because it was only allowed to build 80 square meters on the land, so it was not, but it was, everything else was perfect. So then we said, well, we're gonna give it a try to change the purpose of the land, because it was urban green, and because it was close to an urban area, but it was still green at the same time. And so we said to it, so my wife is always involved in this, of course, like it's not me talking, it's like hers, it's like her voice as well. And we said like, okay, we're gonna buy this piece of land, and we're gonna try to build something bigger. Something that is really, really what we want. But
how if it's regulated?
Yeah, so that's why you bring a lot of visits to the town hall, and anyway. So and we said, so we're gonna buy it anyway, because if it's not, it's a nice holiday home, and for 80 square meters with maybe a nice patio or terrace or whatever, it's gonna work as it's good as a holiday home. But if we want to bring it one step further, and if it might be something also for us to live in, we need more space. That was also obvious. We have 2 children. And to live very comfortable, we would need more space. So it actually took us 1 year to change the acceptance of the change of the land, and that we could build more. And
so that's actually really interesting. Can you describe that process? That sounds like a very entrepreneurial, way of doing politics, almost. Like, you go into the town hall, what do you do to convince the local town hall to give you those things?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was an honest process, and we were honest in this whole process, but we got 2 times a rejection. So it was also that within this year, and you can imagine, it's a whole process, right? So you first have to go to the architect has to make the drawing, then you have to send them to the town hall, then the engineers there and the architect of the town hall has to say something about it, and then of course, so 2 times we had a no, which was like, no, you cannot do it. So what you're trying to do there is not possible, and it is maybe also our Dutch directness, because we Dutch are quite direct. And after the second no, our architect advised us to settle. You're not gonna change it's not possible to change it. Where my wife actually said, then I would like to hear it from the person who decided that it's not possible, that it's not possible to change. Then I would like to hear it from him directly. Where I was not there at that moment, actually, so I have all the credits to her. She contacted, actually she asked the architect to contact the secretary of the person in charge, and he already apologized. So he said, sorry for this, because they're foreigners, but they want to speak to I will not tell any names, but to the person who can who is responsible for this. And so that was actually interesting. And then 1 or 2 weeks later, we could go to the town hall to see see this person, because the secretary said, okay, I find a gap here, and you can come and visit him. And after 1 or 2 weeks, we brought a visit. You had to wait very long, and we were there together with the architect, because he was managing the whole process. And my wife had to go, because she had to pick up the children, because they were there at the daycare. And so I was there alone with the architect, and I asked him, it started strangely, because I was there, still not speak any Portuguese, and the conversation of course started in Portuguese, and it was for me okay, I can just sit here and let them talk, and I don't know what they're talking about, or I can just raise my hand and say, can I ask something, because I really would like to tell something as well. And actually, I will not tell all the insides of the conversation, but we had a very nice conversation with the person, and he said, we're going to talk again to the mayor, and let's see what's possible. And 1 week later, my wife and I, we had to come back to the town hall, and he said, I have good news, it passed, and you can do what you want.
So do you think the reason it got accepted was because you wanted to do something self-sustainable and it'd be good for...
No, because the first reaction is not possible. You cannot have a self-sustainable house. Because it's mandatory to be connected to the electricity grid. So that is so although we have solar panel, there is a backup line to the electricity grid as well. And
can't you, if you have solar panels, can't you just not use the electricity grid?
Yeah, that is possible. Yeah, it's possible. Of course, if there is no sun and you don't have a battery, you cannot use it because there's no. But that's why I'm pretty okay with the backup line. So in case there is no, the batteries are not charged and the sun is gone, we can still have internet or Wi-Fi or whatever. Like it's we can still do something.
So how long are you now in Portugal?
It's almost 3 years. Yeah.
Well, that's a bit longer than 3 months.
Yeah, so we stayed a little bit longer. No, actually, it's good. It's good life there.
Do you think you're gonna stick in Portugal, or at one point you want to maybe move back to the Netherlands and this will be your vacation house?
Depends if my wife is seeing this. I have to tell you, no. I'm not sure. Like,
because your wife is Dutch. She's not Portuguese or something.
No, she's Dutch for sure. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure if I will stay there forever, but what's forever? Like the next years, yes, I will stay there, and maybe we start something else, something new as well. But first, we need to have the house finished, and it's not finished yet. So that is my main priority as well.
Just out of interest, how is the education like in Portugal? Don't you feel like a little bit sad that your children will not have the same education as you and your wife had?
Oh, that is I think you presume that it's not a high quality. So I'm not sure if that is correct.
No, but what I mean with education is the same like things that you learn in school, and also maybe languages. I can imagine, although in Portugal you'll have different languages, but I mean. They won't have, like, I can imagine, French or German, although who has that in the Netherlands?
Now, first of all, it's a Latin language, so French would not be a problem for them. My French really sucks. I'm really bad at French, so I don't think for me French is too important. Although French is a beautiful language as well. But no, I think they have a benefit as well. Like we raise them by language with two languages, with Dutch and Portuguese. They already, let's say the oldest, she already has English lessons as well. And for her, it would be much easier if you would look at the Spanish, for instance. For her, it would be very easy to adapt because it's quite similar. It's like German and Dutch, I would say. I would say there's a solid foundation where you have English, Dutch, and Portuguese. The youngest, he's really fluent in Portuguese because he came to the country when he was only 1 year old, and it's only the parents that are like lacking behind. And I would say that the educational system in Portugal is actually quite good. It's not bad. They have good universities, good educational system. Of course. You have good schools, bad schools. You have rankings there as well. So if you're in doubt and not sure if you are in the right place, you can look at the rankings, and if they're really on the bottom, of course, then I would have second thoughts on that as well. Like not sure if I want to put my children in a very bad school, but I would have it's the same in the Netherlands. So you have also some schools that are not known for their well.
Yeah, completely right. So then the question that pops up is, okay, so now you've done, like, you've left that entrepreneurship thing. You are kind of living the dream in that sense, at least your dream. So you are now, what are you doing now to then, is the thought process, considering you sold all your shares, oh, I just want to do my dream, or do you also want to have a job or make money? Like, what's going through your mind as you're like in Portugal and building this house? Are you only focused on the house, or do you want to also build a different type of career?
I'm too impatient for that to wait for the house to be finished. Although it's very important, and it's also a crucial period for with COVID. The construction is even delaying. So of course I want to have that finished. That's really a main priority. But on the other hand, I'm coaching, so maybe like.
But how did that come into your mind? So executive coaching. You said at one point to me you went to Harvard and everything to learn this leadership stuff. Can you like go a little bit like back and say when did these thoughts start popping up? Why? Can you tell me more?
Yeah, sure. So let's say that also during my whole career, whether it would be in a startup or I think the part of my leadership style is really to be a coach as well. And actually between the second startup and the other job, I indeed went to Harvard University to work on my coaching skills, because I thought it would be important to have also some fundament, like people can tell you like, oh, you're great in this, or you can do that pretty well. For me, it was like, okay, I just want to be, not sure, but maybe to have a good experience, because it was on my list to go to Harvard one day and to have the experience there. But on the other hand, also to have some serious tools that you can use maybe one day in a practice for coaching. And so that's why I went to Harvard indeed. And
how long is that course that you took? How many days are you on the campus then?
I went for 1.5 weeks to Boston and Cambridge, and the course is 3 days, where 2 days full active on the tools and the skills, and I believe it's the first half a day is like getting together and get to know each other. It's not really focusing on the course, on the contents itself.
And do you sleep on campus, or do you have to get your own hotel?
No, I rented something. No, it's like it's not a student. It's more like a professional education, like where it's not like a campus experience, but it's next to the campus, so you see the campus as well, and it's great to walk around there as well to experience it. Although I would not say that the educational level it's not that I was blown away by the experience. It's like it was great, it was good to do it, but it's not a huge difference than you would go to a Dutch university. From the experience I have, it's not that I'm not, maybe from a publishing and research perspective it's a different ballgame, but as a student it's quite similar. And then people approach you like they say it can be more in general, like can you help me with this, or I'm struggling with this, can you help me with it? And bit by bit people start to find you, and you roll into coaching. And luckily, actually, there's a very nice platform. It's called coachhub.io. It's a German startup, and they build a really nice platform as well, where I'm connected to as well at the moment, and that it helps as well in the times of a pandemic, where you cannot really see people face to face. It's also more and more remote now. It's it like we do a lot of.
How did you find that Coach Up platform? Like, did they approach you? Did you find it?
No, I found them. I was just last year in March. I think March or April, and I was like, oh, it's interesting. Everything is closing down. The borders are closing, and what else can we do besides building a house? And so bit by bit this came into play, and applied, and then they had a test session, and you have some serious chat about more or less like this, and then I was accepted, and it's very helpful as well. Yeah, for sure.
Did you need a specific education to get accepted in that program?
You need to have a certificate. So I needed to hand over the Harvard certificate as well.
And that Harvard certificate was enough for them?
Yeah, that was enough.
Do you remember what the exact education was you were studying?
Sorry?
The exact education you took at Harvard. What was the course called?
Leadership coaching strategies.
Leadership coaching strategies. Oh, interesting. I was. I think I told you a couple of months ago. I was always interested in that, just because from the perspective of like towards employees, how do you do it properly. Cool. So okay, so you get onto the platform. Do you feel like this is gonna be like your career, or is just something you do on the side?
No, I will not do it full time. I think it's also good to have yeah, additional experiences and well, if you only focus on coaching, it's like really only on your clients. And I would say for me, what maybe for others it works completely different, but for me it's fine to have other experiences as well. It's great to help people because that's what you do. You help them, and I enjoy that. It's let's not get that confused. I really enjoy that. But on the other hand, yeah, helping, let's say that if you talk to executives and board members, and yeah, sometimes it starts to, hey, I want to be on the other side of the table, not per se on this table, but to start something as well. So that is now, I have some thoughts about that and exploring.
Clear. So it sounds to me very much, because to me the interesting part is like you've done the entrepreneurship thing, you've moved on, but yet like that bug is still there. It's like you're doing the coachings, because in my mind it's like, okay, you've done the entrepreneurship thing, now you can be a coach or something and just enjoy life. But the truth is that the enjoyment is the entrepreneurship mostly, and the coaching is just there to like help out. It sounds to me like you're still.
No, I would say that the coaching, I would even when I would start something new, I would continue doing that. Because for me it's also a very nice way to help others, and I know that I really like to. It's the same with the businesses. Like we're in it together, and together we go further. And it's the same with the coaching. I really try to help someone else getting to hit their goals, make a change, to be the best version of themselves as they wish to be. And if I can contribute to that, it's really satisfying. On the other hand, for me, I would say, yeah, it's still like I'm 40, and for me, there's still something out there that maybe I'm not aware of, because I don't have something that I'm working on. It's not that I'm saying like I'm working on this startup right now, or but something will cross my path anyway. So that I'm not afraid of that. And we have the house and the coaching and. Some small advice parts, advisory, and yeah, for now it's good.
I think I read somewhere last year, maybe in some journal, that the average age statistically for an entrepreneur is like 43 years old when they start their first venture, and I think on average, like also deep down in their 40s. Before an entrepreneur actually hires their first employee. So technically you could still take a 3-year break and start then.
Yeah, well that would fit the boxes, but yeah, as I said, like I don't know. Let's see. I'm not. For me, the focus is now the focus is on the coaching. That's what I like. But if you would ask me honestly, is there something else there? And if something crossed my path and I feel comfortable and I have a good feeling, same core values as the person or whatever comes across, and I would rather like to do it with someone else than doing it something completely on my own.
So let's talk a little bit more practical about the actual executive coaching that you do. What are like the main problems that you experience out of all the coachees that keep coming up? Is there something similar? Is there always the same advice you give? Is there something that the listeners could benefit from that you could share?
I would not. There are some similarities, of course. It's all people want to become better at what they do. I would say that is the main thing, and the reason why they want to become better, it can be different. So the cause can be a different cause. Some of the executives would say that they would like to use me as a sounding board. It's more like a one-on-one chat, maybe like almost. No, I would not say as a friend, but let's say as someone you speak to, and you would be happy to get their advice. Or it's not advice, but let's say that you have their opinion, and maybe it's a sounding board. Like the coaching is not about advising, not at all. And on the other hand, you of course have people that have a certain question, they would like to change something or they would like to achieve something. And for that there are some tools that you can use. And of course, it's also about listening, about asking the right questions. I would say that is the main job of the coach, is to listen carefully, be curious, and ask the right questions.
Nice. And so, if you then look at like some of the most practical things out of your career, and there are some entrepreneurs maybe listening now that are struggling, I would say maybe at the beginning or the middle of their career or the exit, what would be maybe some of the most valuable lessons you could give now that you're also a coach looking at it from a different side?
This is a good question. I'm not sure if it's a generic answer that I can, because everybody is different, of course, and everybody has different values and different aspirations, or they want to achieve something completely different. But of course, like without action, nothing's gonna change. So if you want to change something and you don't taking the action, or you're not willing to take the action, then you have to accept it will not change. Change will not come by itself. Maybe if you buy the lottery and you win the ticket, or you buy the winning ticket, that might be the exception. But otherwise, if you want to achieve something, yes, for sure, you have to take the action, and you have to get into the action mode. And maybe realizing that it's only you that have to do everything yourself, but there are also people that can help you, and it can be also some insights for yourself, that to be more self-aware, to be more maybe more open in general, and to know what you really want to achieve. Because some people don't even know what they want to achieve. So that is maybe the hardest job as a coach. If somebody is coming to you and they don't know it, it's much easier when you have a certain goal, and you, as a coach, you can go with them from A to B, and you have the tools to help them but sometimes it's a stage before, like, what is it then that you really want? And,
do you feel like you had a goal when you were going through your businesses, or was it also just like, hey, let's make a ton of money and break through in this market?
I would say money was more important in the early days of my career. It was much more important, was much more a driver. If you would tell me today, I would say there was much more. The word purpose, I don't know, it's like a buzzword almost, but no, purpose is for me now becoming much more important. And also, if I would start a new business, purpose is really part of it.
What is your purpose now, if you could share that?
It's a very good question, because I think I'm in a transition period. But no, for me, it's now on the coaching is definitely helping other people, and that is and my goal, my own personal goal, is to live in complete freedom. That I can have a self-sustainable house. It's mine, and if I don't want to, I have my own water, I have everything myself. This is really an autarky, it's really mine. And if I don't want to work with a client, I can easily say I'm not interested. If I feel like somebody that I really want to work with, I can do that. And that is for me like something that I'm not fully there, because the house is not finished. But for me, it's that I can really live a life that I found interesting, and that can be that maybe I want to. In 2 years, I want to do something completely different, but then I created the environment that I can do something different. And that is for me. But at the moment, if you talk about coaching, it's really that I can help other people. And that is for me the main driver.
Maybe a sidestep, the self-sustainable house that you want to create. Does that mean you also have animals and you create food and stuff like that?
In the end, yes, that's it would be completely self-sustainable. Yeah.
So, do you have like certain animals in mind you want to start with?
that is more my wife's part. So there will be a fruit garden, and my wife is actually at the moment starting a course on how to harvest crops and how to do that, how to really. So she's actually putting some effort in that as well, and I believe we will have some animals as well. For sure, chickens. I'm 100% sure we will have chickens.
Over the summer, we live in an apartment, but my girlfriend bought like a ton of these boxes where you can put sand in and like tomatoes and everything. And so over the summer, we had like so many vegetables, freshly made. So, you know, she can always share some advice, I can imagine. But that's so interesting. So you're starting with vegetables and then maybe eventually moving to animals and stuff like that.
First a house. That is first house, yeah, for sure.
Great. So, okay, so now you are mostly coaching. Do you feel like that Harvard course contributed to your coaching, or do you feel like it was just like, whatever, I was in Harvard?
No, it was really twofold. So one is the experience for me that to go to Harvard and to see how the campus is and to walk around there. It's like more a personal experience. And the second thing is, it was a very good course. Like they gave you some handful tools or useful tools.
So you would recommend it?
Depends on what people want to achieve. Like for me, it was like the experience combined with something that I told or people told me that I was good at, that I might use more in the future to come. And so that was why I could have done negotiations there as well. Like I could have done maybe strategy course. It's all there. Like so for me, it was like, what do I really like to do? Then it was like the leadership coaching. So that's why I picked this topic. But it could have been anything. But for me, it was personally, I want to be involved in this coaching, whether it would be like as a practice or as a part of my leadership package. And that's why it was beneficial for me. But it could have been something completely different for the experience because I wanted to have that as well.
I wanted to ask one question that slipped by me. At one point, you mentioned like something around the fact that, you know, you could get a lottery ticket or something. And the question that popped up in my mind, because when we have entrepreneurs on, it's obviously a much kind of different type of conversation than if we have someone from a corporate on. So the question for me is, you shared your story. And obviously a lot of ups and downs, some things didn't work out and a lot of, you know, trouble as well popped up. If you would choose, looking back at everything, the experience, would you have gone for a lottery ticket and winning the lottery ticket, or would you do the whole experience all over again? Or like, would you do the experience again from the beginning, obviously not knowing, or would you get a lottery ticket?
I would. So in retrospect, I would have done it again, but slightly different. And
how different?
I would have made different choices. Within the businesses, let's say that I would have made some different choices there as well. But maybe it's also experience. It was for me also, like as I mentioned, I was 30 years old and it was all new for me as well. So. But I can tell my son now how to do it differently. And then,
that's actually a good question. Do you think somebody has to go through it? So your son will have to go through it if he decides that he wants to do this? Or is it something that is avoidable if you have a mentor?
Well, in this question, let's say that we talk about entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship would be, for me, it can be different. I would say, different interpretations. Let's say I'm not like a semantic discussion on what is entrepreneurship, but if you become an independent hairdresser, you're effectively also an entrepreneur. I think that with the entrepreneur, it's like being able to make your own decisions and maybe to walk your own path. And that is what I personally, that's what I'm after. Like, I want to do it my way, and I want to do it my own path. And of course, on this path, I made mistakes, and I don't know. But
Oh no, I'm saying the average person that starts their first business is
their first
43.
business. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so then they have to learn no, but still, within in a more secure environment as a corporate, you can still learn a lot. Maybe it's a different angle of what you learn, and the entrepreneurship is so broad. Like, as I said, like, you can be the entrepreneur from a super startup. If you're the CEO, yeah, you're more or less also the entrepreneur. Maybe you have stakeholders that you have to deal with, but as a startup these days, you have stakeholders as well or shareholders that you have to take care of, and so you're really managing your stakeholders as well. And the same for maybe the hairdresser on the corner of the street. Like, it's a different angle. So your question, if my son, in this case, if I would, well, maybe. Of course, if you have a good chat, it might be a coaching chat with my son. It would not be that I will be directive to him or mentoring and saying that you have to do this or you have to do that. But maybe by asking the right questions, he can make his own choice. And whether it is in the end is a good or bad one, it is his choice. And of course, he's there to learn as well. It's not that if everything is already, for me, everything works out as planned. Yeah, of course, great, but yeah, it makes it less interesting.
Do you think everybody can become an entrepreneur, or is it something like a personality trait, like somebody could be a lawyer or a doctor?
Well, with a lawyer or a doctor, it's the same. Let's say, I would say you have 3 types of lawyers and 3 types of doctors and 3 types of entrepreneurs. And one is because it's from the family. The parents are doctors or lawyers, and then the entrepreneur is also the parent is the entrepreneur. So you're raised with that, and then of course. You just follow the footsteps of your parents, and it's really black and white, of course, right? So the other one is somebody, maybe it doesn't count for a lawyer or a doctor, but maybe for entrepreneurship. There is no other choice. So you don't have the educational level, you don't have the parents to back you up, but there is no other choice. And by being creative and maybe smart in the same way, different than intelligent, but you didn't have the right education, or maybe you can still become an entrepreneur. But it's also a personality. So like I said, if you don't take the action, nothing will happen, nothing will change. It's the same if you want to achieve something. So if you determined as a entrepreneur and you want to achieve something and you go for it, and of course you might make mistakes as well, but you can learn from that, and maybe you don't have a backup plan or you don't have a fallback, and you have to. So that creates an entrepreneur then as well. And then the third one is that you go to university. You have maybe not the entrepreneurial parents, but at a certain point you feel that it might be something for you. And from there, like you maybe have your backup plan, but you always can go back to whatever you taught in university. But on the other hand, you give it a try, and you feel comfortable and confident enough to do it. And so there's a different kind of entrepreneur. Like if you come from something where you have nothing to lose, and you just go for it. And I don't say. Sometimes people would say, that is a real entrepreneur, or that is someone with an entrepreneurial mindset, or whatever. I think it all depends also on the situation where you're coming from, and if you take action and if you want to make something out of it, I would say then you're the entrepreneur, if you're not afraid to do it.
We're slowly wrapping up, but we always have some questions that I always bring up that could be relevant. The first is, we have a segment called the Crash and Burn segment, and this is about the biggest failures that you didn't expect to happen in your career. So this could be anything in your career, from your studies to the gap year that you took to obviously now. So what are some of these biggest failures that you didn't expect, and what did you learn from it?
I would say that what I didn't expect, that I'm not sure if I didn't expect it at all, but maybe I wasn't expecting it, and that is that yeah, people, and they can always choose for themselves, and they're not backing you. Let's say so. In the end, you're on your own, and yeah. So maybe that was what unexpected experience.
And so, what did you learn from it?
Yeah, in the end, it's you. You have to, like, of course, if you're in it together, it's better. But in the end, yeah, a lot can happen.
Do you feel like if you had established better core values up front, a better mission and purpose up front, that maybe you would have had a partner for life, like for instance your wife or something like that, but then in business? Or is it really that's the learning lesson, that at the end it is you?
No, I would say that I'm with my wife for a very long time, so yeah, that. So maybe business in can be more volatile. You know, like if you start something and you're both optimistic, it's like maybe also in love. You know, like I was lucky enough that I met her, and but I could have met a lot of other people as well, and. You know, if it can be fun at the beginning, but then if the struggles come to play, yeah, of course, you know, how do you deal with that? And in the end, you can break up, or you can just have a relationship where you both agree on being together but not be together. And maybe in business that's the same. Like if you meet someone and you start a business, it can work out, and if everything is positive and good, maybe you will manage. But as soon as there's some friction and yeah, might be better to split up and to go your own way.
Get it. So the next segment we have is obviously Impact Talk. So it's about impact. So then the question is, what is the project that you worked on that had the biggest impact? Again, the biggest impact could be all over your career, also personal life.
Yeah, well, still, the most recent one is also the one that, not that you're asking for the most recent one, but the most recent one is still that I have to finish the house, because the impact is so big. It's for my family, and I really want to have them living there, and that is maybe on a personal level. On the other hand, yeah, of course, I can tell you about the telecom, and that we provided. Impact on millions, that we connected millions and millions of people with the right proposition, and but that, yeah, I would say there's a different kind of impact, or maybe holidays for thousands and thousands of people that went on a great holiday at that time of their lives. But no, that's I don't know.
I find it interesting how this self-sustainability is so like close to your heart almost. It reminds me of a lot of entrepreneurs, including me, I'd say, who just think that freedom is the ultimate goal. Just like fully, completely being able to stand on your own, you know, live off your own land. It's just, yeah, it seems like to be a common thread among many entrepreneur friends that I meet. So I definitely find myself in that. That's very interesting. Maybe a completely sidestep question, but what are you currently doing or learning that has nothing to do with the house, that could be, or business, that could be interesting for our audience? Maybe something you're learning or some cool sport you picked up.
So I have twice a week personal training, so that's really nice. But during the corona, it's quite limited to that. Nevertheless, I did some hacking courses as well, like
hacking.
Ethical hacking. As I said, like I started 1994, I guess, with the internet, and in 1998, I already found a way to hack into Hotmail without having the credentials. So I think it was always part of me. But I like to investigate and like to see, like, hey, how is this playing out and what's going on. And so it has nothing to do with coaching or entrepreneurship or building a house. So no, I do some side steps. So for instance, hacking, I like to learn about that as well. But the focus is it's the coaching. I would like that is for me the most important thing for the next year at least.
Cool. We're kind of coming to the last question now, but maybe a question that gets asked a lot by the audience. Any interesting books that you're reading currently, and what did you learn from those books?
What did I read? Yeah, I like to read some romance, but not so much on I would call them topics, like on a certain topic. Um, Although I like to read about, for instance, coaching or leadership or anything, but it's more on the internet. Um, Good question. What
Are you reading something currently?
I was just thinking. I started, but I put it away. What was it? I want to. I have to see it on my mobile phone because I started recently. I started something, but I put it away and I don't remember. So it wasn't. I think it wasn't that good actually.
But then, yeah, no worries. Then let's kind of continue. I love the conversation. We are like coming to the 2 hour mark now. So I just wanted to roll out the red carpet for you. Anything that you have to promote, anything where people can find you, any last thoughts you want to share, please share them with our audience.
No, thanks of all. It was like I know you a little bit now, and over the last months, I had the pleasure to know you better and better. So thank you for inviting me for this. Thanks a lot, actually. I'm not 100% sure if I'm the real entrepreneur that you're talking about.
Well, I think your journey kind of says it that yes, you are, and also your explanation about what a real entrepreneur is does resonate. It's like as long as you do, I think you're an entrepreneur.
You know better than I do. But on the other hand, no. I'm an executive coach, and I like to do that. And if people want to read more about me, Rogier Bouman at LinkedIn or rogierbouman.com is my website. Please feel free to reach out, and always happy to connect with people, regardless that will be a business one in the near future or not. I like to connect with anyone. That's the main thing. And also for coaching, if you have a good connection with someone, I think that's the most solid and most interesting part of coaching, that you really can connect with someone. So feel free to reach out, and happy to accept.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I really enjoyed having you on. 100% going to invite you again if you're willing to come. But yeah, definitely for people who are listening, can highly recommend it. Thank you so much.
All right. See you on Friday. All right. Ciao. Bye-bye.
If you like this episode, you can check out our most recent one here. And if you haven't already, make sure you click here to subscribe and see the next one. But if you're interested in more tips and tricks, then make sure to join our Facebook group, where you can find thousands of like-minded people and you get direct access and support to